paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers, scum. They're on giant death factories, keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy, weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot and the goblins are hobbling round coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap. We don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
I was watching Fox News as I worked out this morning.
Horrors in this house. There's some horrors in this house. There's some horrors in this house. There's some horrors in this house. I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass P word. Make that pullout game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N word, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top if I want to ride. I do a kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P word is wet, come take a dive. And continue along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like a lot more vulgar.
I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. My children aren't going hungry. I'll do it. I'll drink your blood. And I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like size it up? I'm gonna haul him up back chain. Chop his ass up, size it up. I'm gonna haul him up back chain. Chop, 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 chop. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I'll barbecue your ass flat. I will cook your ass up so fast, and I'll tell them, oh, I killed a cow out back, baby. You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on if it's the last thing I do, I'm gonna get my hands around your throat.
What rolls downstairs, a motor in pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog? What's great for a snack and fits on your back? It's long, long, long. It's long, long. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's long, long. It's better than that, it's good. Everyone wants a long. You're gonna love it long. Come on and get your long. Everyone needs a long.
Log from Blammo.
It's another B-Word broadcast. Let's go! Holy cow, everybody. Can you believe it? It's the weekend. Yeah, boy. It's Saturday, October 15th. Welcome to the B-Word broadcast. We've got yourselves a wild and weird stream for you today. That's right. We're going to see very normal country do very normal debate thing. It's going to be a good show. Oh, my God. How's it going, everybody? I've been all over town. And I'm all over the place, but it's going to be a good stream. I hope you're caffeinated. It's another beautiful day here in Montreal. It's going to be like 18 degrees, something crazy. I'm going to go get a 10 in October. What's happening? But yeah, I'm here for it. You're here for it. Thanks so much for stopping on by. Might be a bit of a shorter stream today. We'll see how things go. I got so much to do. I gotta read this paper about how you can learn science from YouTube comments. Yeah, It's a thing, apparently. Even you too can go learn science from YouTube comments, apparently, according to this paper. So I gotta read that at some point and then go downtown and hang out with a colleague. So yeah, how's it going with you? How are you doing? How's everything? I got a big show coming up next Tuesday where the English Poetry Slam and the French Poetry Slam will be uniting under one roof. That's right, uniting under one roof. The English team's gonna send a delegation. We're gonna compete in the French Slam. It's not gonna be a lot of us, probably only about 3 of us, but we're gonna do some English poetry, everybody, to a French audience. It should go well. It should be fine. Make some friends, hand out some snazzy bookmarks, and hopefully, maybe someone will swoon. Maybe? I don't know. I think the poem I'm doing is "Don't Try to Change My Mind," so I was told that I gave off clownish feel, a vibe. Like this professor of clowns literally asked me after doing that piece, you got a bit of a clown aspect here. I'm like, oh, thanks for the compliment, I guess. It is a silly poem, I suppose. You're a professor or what now? That was a fun, that was at the French show I went to last week. I was also really far. The biking has been crazy. But hey, how you doing? How's it going? We got all sorts of great content lined up. Apparently the HERSCHEL Walker versus Warnock debate has been off the charts crazy. Very weird, so I can't wait to take a look at that. It's the main segment. If something else drops, we'll check in on that. Might be worth looking in on the Emergencies Act inquiry that's happening in Canada. So yeah, lots to look for, lots to do. It's gonna be a fun stream. So let's get right into it. All right. Just gonna drop the tunes. Hey, Kilometriao, how you doing? Isn't it Kilometer Ow? Not Kilometriao. I always want to pronounce it phonetically. Yeah, Kilometer Ow. So yeah, let's go check out this debate. It looks absolutely ridiculous. I can't wait. It's gonna be some good shit. All right. Okay, so here we go. Just as the song ends. Good shit. Buckle up. Buckle up, Buttercup.
This is the Georgia U.S. Senate debate.
Woo, pump it up.
Debate night in America. I'm your host.
Debate night.
From News Nation. In 2020.
I think like one thing that this is gonna show is that debate bros might be right, and that maybe being able to debate does show a minimum level of capability.
Georgia decided the balance of power in the United States Senate, and it might well again. The stakes could not be higher. Tina Taya Shaw, anchor at WSAV here in Savannah, and Buck Lanford,
let me
anchor
boost that.
at Fox 5 in Atlanta,
Should be better.
will moderate tonight's debate. We are joined by a live studio audience. They have agreed to hold their cheers and applause until the end of tonight's debate.
You can cheer.
We also welcome our viewers across the country watching on News Nation, and voters here in Georgia joining us on 5 Nexstar stations.
Yeah, they say streaming is
and
easy.
Several partner stations across the region. Before we get started with tonight's topics, the rules.
The rules.
Senator Warnock, Mr. Walker, you will each have 60 seconds for opening statements and 60 seconds to answer each question. If there's a follow-up or rebuttal, you will have 30 seconds. When time's up, you'll hear this bell.
Ding, ding.
Each candidate
Nice.
will also have 60 seconds for a closing statement. And with that, it is time to get underway. Tina and Buck, the floor is yours.
Let's go.
Leland, thank you very much. Senator Warnock, Mr. Walker.
Rhetorical
good evening to you
bloodbath,
both. We
the blood
appreciate
sport.
you being here, and we look forward to hearing from you both tonight. And for those of you at home that are following along, we'd like for you to use the hashtag GASEN.
Oh, I wish I knew that.
GASEN debate.
Good to see you as well,
I
gentlemen.
used the wrong
We
hashtags.
begin tonight
Chat.
with
Oh,
opening statements.
shit. Oh,
of
geez. Speaking of which, I gotta blast off, and you gotta juice it, chat. You gotta boost those numbers. If you're on Twitter and you're not following me, you should be following, just so that that's where all my updates are and all my best shower thoughts and crumbled poems.
Card draw determined who will go first. Mr. Walker, we will begin with you. You have 60 seconds.
First, I'd like to acknowledge my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm one of 7 kids.
Good, strong opener.
Born and raised in Wrightsville, Georgia.
Sorry, 7
My
kids?
parents taught me about faith, family, education, and the love of country. They also taught me about a good work ethic. And because of that, I found the America's dream. But this race ain't about me.
Still exists.
It's about what Raphael Warnock and Joe Biden had done to you and your family. Tonight, he's going to try to sweet talk you that he's doing a good job, but his record speaks for itself. I'm here to tell you that they've raised your taxes, gave you high inflation. They even put men and women's sports. And I want to let you know that Raphael Warnock, if we give him 6 more years, think what he's going to do.
Just imagine.
I'm here to fix it.
Wow.
Mr. Walker, thank you. Senator Warnock, we turn now to you for
Truly
your
deep
opening
wisdom.
statement. You have 60 seconds.
Now, I believe this guy is literally a pastor.
Well, thank you so very much, and hello, Georgia. It's so wonderful to be back here.
That charm.
In my hometown. Now, I know that we're in a debate tonight, but really I come with a deep heart filled with gratitude.
Like immediately in the first 30 seconds, you can just tell from their what is it, the candor, the way they speak, the pace of it. Like he was so stocky, and Warnock is just instantly flew
Probably because
flow.
I grew up about a mile from here in the Caton Homes housing projects.
Damn.
I'm one of 12 children in my family. Clearly my preacher parents read the Bible. Be fruitful and multiply. When I think
He opens up with, my parents. Oh man, they got it on, man. My parents were,
about the arc of my life, the short distance and the long distance from there to here, I know that only in America is my story possible. My family taught me the importance of hard work and how to build the beloved community that Dr. King used to talk about, and I brought that spirit to the Senate. At the end of the day, this race is about who's ready to represent Georgia in the U.S. Senate. I think that choice is clear, and I look forward to having that discussion tonight.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to this hour. So we will start tonight with the most important issues facing Georgia voters.
Our next star, Emerson College The Hill poll shows the economy, threats to democracy, and abortion access are the top 3 issues. We're going to begin tonight with the economy.
Really? Man, Americans and their economy, eh? Women can lose the right to abortion, and or it can be at least under threat nationally, and people are still like, yeah, but the economy's been fucked for
Everyday Georgians are struggling. They're struggling to pay for food, gas, child care, housing. This week, the inflation rate continues to rise. Mr. Walker, we're going to start with you. You've been openly critical, blaming President Biden and the Democrats for inflation and for the economy. If elected, what is one idea that you would champion to reduce inflation? We ask you to be specific. You have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, you have to blame this administration and Senator Warnock because within 2 years, this inflation has gotten worse.
Hasn't inflation been going up around the world?
They cut our energy independence. They also raised taxes. And at the same time, they reckless spending all our money. So he would sit here tonight and say that he's doing a good job for us, and you ask me what is one job I would do to help the inflation. First of all, we got to become independent, energy independent again. And the reason why, we're going to our enemies to ask for gas and oil. And that puts us not just in an inflation problem, but it puts us in a national security problem. And I think that's something that I think Senator Warnock need to realize. And he mentioned that he grew up here in Savannah with 12 siblings, Well, in this area, most people live paycheck to paycheck. And when you have inflation the way he's brought inflation on, how in the world can you buy grocery or gas for your family?
A follow-up question to that, Mr. Walker. Most economists say that cutting government spending is the first step in economic recovery. I would want to ask you, would you consider cutting military funding or spending on social services to accomplish this goal? And you have 30 seconds.
I would
that's
not,
a dangerous question.
Think about cutting military spending because first, I believe in peace through strength. Right now, we're at a brink of war, and I think right now with Senator Warnock, who he and Joe Biden, they don't show any strength, and we have to protect this country. And I said it early on.
Be strong.
Right now, because we're
strong,
giving our energy up to our enemies that don't like us, we have to be ready for war. This is not a playground. So we have to be ready for war right now.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, since President Biden has taken office, inflation has reached levels that...
He didn't answer whether he would cut Social Security. Interesting.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, since President Biden has taken office, inflation has reached levels that we haven't seen in 40 years. You've supported nearly every piece of legislation that this administration has pushed through Congress. Do you take any responsibility for the financial hardships currently that Georgians are facing? And you have 60 seconds.
There's no question that people are feeling pain at the grocery store, at the pump, at pharmacy counters. And while we are paying record prices, a lot of our corporate actors are seeing record profits.
Yeah, like in Canada, the leader of the NDP wants to launch an investigation into our grocery stores for price gouging.
The oil and gas industry and the pharmaceutical industry, which is why I've stood up for ordinary, hardworking Georgia families time and time again. I passed the single largest tax cut, contrary to what my opponent is suggesting, for middle and working class families in American history. And we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which had two of my provisions. One, caps the cost of prescription drugs for seniors so they don't have to choose between buying medicine and buying groceries. And one, caps the cost of insulin. He said he would not have voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, and I think he should tell the people of Georgia why he thinks they should have expensive insulin and why the pharmaceutical companies should be able to charge us whatever they like.
Well, first of all, may I respond?
People should have insulin.
Reducing insulin, but at the same time, you got to eat right. Because
sorry, what? Say what? Huh? People with diabetes can't just eat right. They don't make the stuff. What?
I believe in reducing insulin, but at the same time, you got to eat right. Because he may not know, and I know many people that's on insulin, and unless you have eating right, insulin is doing you no good.
Sorry,
so you have to get
insulin doing you no good because you're not eating right? No, you do not.
Food prices down, and you got to get gas down so they can go get insulin. And you continue to pat yourself on the back, but right now, families are starving. Right now, families are hurting, and they're hurting because of the bills and the laws you're passing right now.
Senator Warnock, I'll give you an opportunity for a
rebuttal.
Listen,
I meet people all the time in my church who are trying to manage their diabetes. I've been there when they've gotten the news that they've got to get an amputation. And I think we're hearing from my opponent tonight that it's their fault that prices of insulin are being gouged. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's the fault of these pharmaceutical companies. Insulin's been around 100 years.
Easy.
The patent was sold for $1.
$1.
They're engaged in price gouging, and too many people in Washington think they work for the pharmaceutical companies. I work for the people of Georgia.
Well, he's in Washington.
Can I finish? I work for the people of Georgia.
Yeah, but you're in Washington.
And that's why I stand up for them every single day.
And you're the leader.
Mr. Walker, let's move forward if we can. A follow-up question to you, Senator, in 30 seconds. Georgians need help.
But you're physically in Washington, therefore.
Right now, in your opinion, is the answer another stimulus check, or is there a better option out there to deal with this right now?
We passed the Inflation Reduction Act. He's already told you he would vote against it.
It didn't reduce inflation.
Yeah, he's like, we already did the thing.
He's already told you that he doesn't believe in capping the costs of prescription drugs for people like my 84-year-old mother.
No, I don't think they should. I don't think
she should have to choose.
Let's let him talk. Yes. You'll get a second.
I don't think she should have to choose between buying medicine and buying groceries.
Easy
clap. That's why I've stood up for her, and I've stood up for hardworking families every single day, and I've stood against the corporations that are being bad actors. They're seeing record profits in the middle of a pandemic.
And
Who exploits a pandemic?
Gentlemen, we need to move on to our next topic in the interest of time. So that's election integrity. Tina, it's all yours.
I guess it's like on the same level as like war profiteers during the Second World War, where like people were just figuring out how to make bank off of this stuff, and it's like, ooh, is this a moral red line? Are we gonna allow this? Now it's just kind of completely normalized. It's the same thing with the pandemic.
Buck, thank you. Senator Warnock, this question is for you. You have said the new Georgia voting laws implemented after the 2020 election create many obstacles for underserved communities. Yet, there was record turnout in Georgia in the primary this May.
Yeah,
according to research done by the Brennan Center for Justice, the African American vote grew approximately 50% from 2018 to 2022's primaries. Yes. Senator, can you explain how the law negatively impacts minority votes? You have 60 seconds, sir.
So I have spent my whole career long before coming to the Senate fighting for voting rights, because I believe that a vote is a kind of prayer for the world we desire for ourselves and for our children. We register people to vote in my church. And in the Senate, I've stood up for democracy.
That's a bit sussy. I don't think you're supposed to do that, though, right? Or no, you can use a church to register and do the voting process, but you can't be like saying who to vote for. So that's based, right?
Because that's the framework in which we get to fight for all of the things we care about. There is no question that SB 202 makes voting harder, and that is the intent. And the fact that many of our voters are overcoming this hardship doesn't undermine that reality. They've made it harder for folks to use the drop boxes. They've shortened the registration times. Folks are saying, you know, you shouldn't have to, you should be able to get food or water in a line. I think the question is more fundamental than that. Why are the lines so long in certain communities and not others?
Come on. It's not like that here in Canada.
I encourage Georgia voters to keep showing up. Don't let anybody take your voice. Don't let anybody take your vote.
Nice.
It took too much to get here, and I'm honored to represent you in the United States Senate.
He's based.
Senator Warnock, thank you. Mr. Walker, we move to you now. In 2020, Georgia became the epicenter for questions on voter fraud. We'd like to hear your thoughts in 60 seconds. Did President Biden defeat former President Donald Trump in 2020? Again, sir, you have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all,
do you live in this reality?
He said that SB 202, really it made it easier to vote and harder to cheat. And she mentioned that more people turned out for the primary. So you gotten good at in Washington not answering that question, because that was the question she asked you. And did President...
he absolutely answered the question. She's like, how does this keep people from voting? And he's like, well, it XYZ, shorter times, this thing, that thing. And he's like, haha, you didn't answer the question. Okay, oh shit. And people are laughing and applauding like, yeah, he didn't answer the question. Like, oh, Jesus, people, listen.
Biden win.
President
Biden won, and Senator Warnock won. That's the reason I decided to run.
Okay.
Because we need a change in Washington. We need leaders that's going to stand up to foreign leaders. We need people that's going to stand up for people in Georgia. Because Senator Warnock, he went to Washington, but he forgot about Georgia. And I want to stand for the people of Georgia. He just mentioned he's standing for the people of Georgia, but can he tell me why he voted with Joe Biden 96% of the time if he was standing for Georgia? That tells you that he's for Joe Biden, I'm for Georgia.
Mr. Walker, thank you. Now, before we move on, gentlemen.
I'd like to respond to that.
I will give you that opportunity, sir. I will give you that opportunity, Senator.
Damn.
You have 15 seconds to respond.
It is very clear that my opponent would rather be running against anybody except me. But either me, there are only two people who are going to sit in this seat, either me or my opponent. And I think this race is about who's ready to represent the people of Georgia. And I'm thinking about them every single day.
But if
he's so man, I mean, yeah, it's not really coming out hard or heavy. Warnock is a bit of a softy, bit of a dove.
Cut from the same cloth at 96% of the time. I'm running he and Joe Biden because they're the same.
Gentlemen,
no applause allowed, but they're applauding anyways.
We are moving on now. This next question, this is a yes or no response, and
I love that it's only the Republicans who keep breaking this rule.
This is for both of you. Senator Warnock, Yes or no, regardless of who wins in November, will you accept the outcome?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker, regardless of who wins in November, will you accept the outcome?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Basics.
gentlemen. Buck, over to you.
Thank you,
This
Tina.
is
We
grade
turn now
one
to the
civics.
topic of abortion. We're going to start with you, Mr. Walker. A week before this debate, a former girlfriend made public accusations saying you paid for an abortion and that you encouraged her to have another.
Nice.
In an ABC News interview this week, you said that the accusations are, quote, all lies. For the voters watching tonight, can you explain the circumstances surrounding these claims? You have 60 seconds.
Well, as I said, that's a lie. And, you know, what most thing I put it in a book. One thing about my life is I've been
Bro's calling the mother of his child a liar.
very transparent. Not like the senator. He's here.
What an asshole.
But at the same time, I said that's a lie. And on abortion, you know, I'm a Christian. I believe in life. And I tell people this, Georgia is a state that respects life. And I'll be a senator that protects life. And I said that was a lie, and I'm not backing down.
Wow. Because the alternative is that, you know, according to their twisted ideology, he would have, you know, M-worded that baby. You know, he'd be a infanticide kind of thing, right?
And you have Senator Warnock, people that would do anything and say anything.
It would be embryo-side.
This seat, but I'm not going to back down because this seat is too important to the Georgia people for me to back down right now.
You've been vocally pro-life, supporting a ban on abortions without exceptions. Would you support a complete ban on a national level?
Well, first of all, see, that's not true either. I said I support the heartbeat bill. And I said I support the Georgia heartbeat bill because that's the bill of the people from Governor Kemp. And I said that has exceptions in it. I said I'm a Christian, but I'm also representing the people of Georgia, and that's who I represent. So what the people of Georgia stand for, I'm going to stand with them.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Wow.
Senator Warnock, you've said repeatedly that the exam room is too small for the patient, her doctor, and the U.S. government. We're asking you to take a clear position right now. Do you believe there should be any limitations on abortion set by the government? And you have 60 seconds.
I think that the women of this country and the women of this state woke up one summer morning and a core protection that they've known for 50 years.
2 generations.
Was taken from them by an extremist Supreme Court.
Yep.
And I stand where I've said I stand in the past, that a patient's room is too narrow and small and cramped a space for a woman, her doctor, and the United States government. We are witnessing right now what happens when politicians, most of them men, pile into patients' rooms.
Yep.
You get what you're seeing right now.
He's not answering the question.
The women of Georgia, the women of Georgia deserves a senator who will stand with them. I trust women more than I trust politicians.
May I respond?
Nice. Very quickly, Mr. Walker.
Oh, no applause line.
It is, and I heard about him. That I heard he was
They can't help themselves.
But did he not mention that there was a baby in that room as well? And also, did he not mention that he asking the taxpayer to pay for it? So he's bringing the government back into the room. So he's not talking about that.
Right.
So when he mentioned that, it's like I've not seen too many pastors that would say that statement.
Mr. Warnock, I'll give you a chance to rebut.
I am a pastor.
I'm
a man of faith.
I think that HERSCHEL Walker doesn't understand the analogy. When he's saying that he doesn't want the federal government in there, he means their opinions, not their, you know, like their funding or infrastructure.
And I have a profound reverence for life and a deep respect for choice. And because I have such a profound reverence for life, it's one of the reasons why I've stood up to address this issue of maternal mortality in our country.
Yeah.
We lead all of the Western nations on that front.
True.
And black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die even when they have the insurance and the income. Now, that's something government could actually do something about. And I joined with Marco Rubio of Florida to pass a bill to address maternal mortality. The women of Georgia have a clear choice as we're watching women die. Do you want a senator who wants to control your life, or do you want a senator who wants to save your life? Well, I want to save your life.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny,
We need
man,
to keep moving, Mr. Walker.
I have to respond to this.
Very quickly.
Because he told me Black Lives Matter. And if you think about it, Senator, in Atlanta, Georgia, there's more black baby that is aborted than anything. So if Black Lives Matter, why are you not protecting those babies? And instead of aborting those babies, why are you not baptizing those babies?
Mr. Warnock, or Senator Warnock, will give you a chance to respond to that.
Bro, not everybody's
I
Christian.
think
What
the
the
women of Georgia have a clear choice. He says no exceptions.
I will baptize your
even
baby.
in the case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother.
Yikes.
I think that's extreme, is out of touch with Georgia, and I intend to do the work that senators can do.
See, he didn't
Mr.
read
Walker,
he didn't read the heartbeat bill, though. Wait, he didn't
We've
read
got
the
to move
heartbeat
forward,
bill.
Mr.
That
Walker.
there is exceptions for that in the heartbeat bill. So when he
All
made
right, I'm going to
a
ask you to
statement that
respect
is
Mr.
untrue,
Walker that we need to
and I
move
do
on, okay?
respect
We've
that,
got
but
a
Senator, you
lot
have
to
to
get
read
in
that
tonight.
bill.
A follow-up question for you, Senator Warnock. We ask that you take a listen to something that
Roasted.
you said at a rally just a couple of weeks ago.
So women, I trust women in their wisdom and their ability to sit with their own doctor. And if they choose, to sit with their pastor. And to pray about that and let their own conscience guide them. Even God gave us a choice.
Even God gave us a choice. Can you clarify what you meant by that? You have 30 seconds.
Oh, I think it's self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's very clear.
God gave us a choice.
Yeah, he gave free will.
And I respect the right of women to make a decision. These are medical decisions.
What a question.
deep.
Can you explain this concept of choice with the soft C? Yeah, choice for women? Like,
Deeply personal.
what the fuck is this question?
Women find themselves in a range of circumstances. And this issue has been
Also, the
far
Bible is
too
pretty
politicized.
pro-abortion,
And we're
isn't it?
witnessing right now the chaos that ensues as a result of that. And women right now who may be facing a miscarriage in some cases are wondering what will happen and how will they have to explain that. I think that's deeply problematic. There are enough politicians piling into the rooms of patients, and I don't
He
plan
really
to join
likes this
them.
metaphor.
But just to clarify, in your opinion, God gave us a choice in regards to abortion.
It is apparent that God has given us a range of choices, and the people of Georgia have a choice right now about who they think
Nice.
should
Good
represent
segue.
them in the Senate.
Good
May
segue.
I have to respond?
Mr. Walker,
because-
we do have to move
Yeah, I
on to our
agree.
next
This will be
topic.
very short, because he's correct. God gave us a choice. But also within the Bible, if you read the Bible more, God said choose life.
No, he
In the
didn't.
Bible, it says, I give you a choice. Just like Adam and Eve had a choice, but they chose death.
Very
And
quickly,
God
Bob.
said,
Mr. Walker, we need to move forward.
I think he wants to arrogate to politicians more power than God has.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. We're going to have to move on to our next topic, okay? Tina?
Not that anyone knows what the word arrogate is. Like, I'm a poet and I haven't heard that word in like ever. Man, Pastor, man, you gotta like, come on, tone it down a bit on your like nerdiness. He wants to give to politicians power that only God has. Like, was a good line, but he messed it up. He messed it up.
We are moving on, gentlemen,
abrogate?
on the next topic, and it is about student loans. We turn to Christian Dent, a college student and Nexstar News Nation viewer from Locust Grove, Georgia.
As a college student at the University of Georgia, me and my peers are often faced with confronting the rising costs that come with obtaining a college degree. In the United States Senate, will you support further forgiveness of student loan debt? And if so, how will you implement it in the United States Senate on a federal level?
Good question.
Our thanks to Christian for that question. Senator Warnock, your answer, please, in 60 seconds.
I wouldn't be standing here tonight if it weren't for low-interest student loans and Pell Grants. And in the years since I've graduated, that path has gotten harder. I ran into a couple on a flight, and they wrote a note for me. They were with their one-year-old son. They said, whatever you do, please do something about this student debt. The mother said, I borrowed $35,000. I paid back $20,000. I still owe $30,000.
Yeah,
And
that's the
why-
stuff that's insane. That is so wild.
I pushed the president to do student debt relief. He did $10,000, and with my urging, he did $20,000 for folks with Pell Grants. I think it was the right move. It will spur entrepreneurship, home ownership. It helps kids in technical schools and vocational schools, not just four-year colleges. But we need reform. We shouldn't be doing this again 10 years from now. And I'm working right now on the kind of reform we need because college is outpacing the price of everything else in our economy.
A follow-up for you, sir. Why do you believe this should be done through executive action instead of Congress? And also, how would this be funded? You have 30 seconds.
The president has already moved to do student debt relief. And there's additional relief for folks like me who, when they got student loans, were Pell Grant eligible. But there's no question we need reform in the system so that we can get the cost of college underway. We don't find ourselves here again. And that's my position. Thank you.
Senator Warnock, thank you. Mr. Walker, to repeat Christian's question, will you support further forgiveness of student loan debt? And if so, how would you implement it?
Well, first of all, you can see that.
60 seconds, sir. I
Yes,
apologize.
first of all, you can see that Senator Warnock has gotten good at being in Washington, because you asked the question, why did Congress not do it instead of the president doing an executive order, which is what should have been done. And as I was traveling around the state of Georgia, I talked to people. Some people that wanted to go to college, they couldn't. So they ended up going and working on father's farm. Some military wanted to go to college, they didn't. So he went to the military, may have lost an arm. So this is not right. Georgia people say it's not right. They said it's unfair. First of all, how can you transfer someone debt who owe it to someone that don't owe it? And also, Senator Warnock brags about making $400 billion that now the taxpayer, all you in the audience, got to pay for. You got to pay that debt. And I didn't co-sign for anyone's loan. I hope no one out here co-signed for anyone's loan, because I didn't co-sign for anyone's loan. And it's not right, it's not fair.
Don't
Mr.
co-sign
Walker,
loans.
we're continuing with a follow-up for you now, Mr. Walker. College tuition, it skyrocketed 175% over the past 20 years. What will you do to stem the cost of higher education going forward? You have 30 seconds.
First of all, what you should do is get rid of federal funding of any college that raise their costs. Get rid of federal funding of any college that raise their costs. That's the first thing that you should do.
So that is what you would do.
Yeah, that's
we're asking what you would do.
Well, any college that raise their costs, I get rid of any federal funding that they're going to get.
Thank you.
You know,
We're moving on.
I find it interesting that folks are
Senator
offended
Warnock,
by...
Senator Warnock,
yes.
I'm going to give you this one. I'm going to give you a pass for 15 seconds.
I will be very brief.
Holy shit, she treats him so differently.
Very brief.
It's interesting to me that folks who have been crying about the student debt relief haven't said anything about multi-billionaire corporate entities who've gotten PPP loans.
Get them. Wow, that was a weak.
I wonder why Mr.
Post.
We're going to move on. We're moving on. Thank you.
Oh, man. Oh, jeez. This guy's way too... He doesn't know when to be aggressive and when to be polite. Like that last 30 seconds. And look at him. He's laughing it up.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Your
loan
time
as
is
well.
up. Mr. Walker, we are moving on.
Yes,
We're going to move on to minimum
too.
wage, gentlemen. We have
Yes.
a lot to get through
Yes.
tonight. We've made that clear at the top of the hour.
Yes.
So let's get as many questions as we can
Nice.
in, because Georgia voters want to know where you stand on these issues. They have to make a decision.
Such as?
Let them know tonight. Buck?
Thank you, Tina. Now, according to the U.S. Census Bureau,
She's good.
14% of Georgians live in poverty. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, a number that has not increased since 2009. Let's do this by a simple showing of hands. Raise your hand if you support a federal minimum wage.
What?
Okay, Mr. Walker, you
People don't know. Oh my God, that's crazy.
not raise your hand. So I'd like to ask you, first of all, why not, and what would you do to help struggling
Wait,
Georgia?
neither of them
When
did?
you said a federal, I think right now, and he said that I want the federal government. No,
Wait,
he wants the
neither
federal government to run your life. Right now, I think you have to work with different corporations and see just where they can pay. There are some companies right now, and
See
he
where
should
they
know
can
this,
pay?
after getting the All-Star game moved out of Atlanta, they destroyed a lot of small businesses. So those small businesses couldn't pay $15, $20 an hour. So they have to pay what they're capable of paying. So to mandate a federal fee that they have to pay hourly wage, no, I couldn't approve that.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, you did not raise your hand, so
Yeah, what's up
why
with
not,
that?
and what would you do to help struggling Georgia?
He didn't understand the question.
I believe in the dignity of work, and I believe in the dignity of workers. I watched my dad work really hard to take care of his family. And I've seen what we call essential workers, these folks who are on the front line, stand up for us in the midst of the pandemic. We call them essential workers. They deserve an essential wage and essential benefits. In other words, workers deserve to participate in the prosperity that they are creating for others.
Okay.
And so
Socialist.
I've been a
Socialism.
part of this conversation around the minimum wage. I think people need a livable wage. And some of that is being addressed right now in this strong labor market. So I'm willing to work with folks in the corporate community as well as the labor community to figure out how we get to a good place. But there's no question, people deserve to participate in the prosperity that they're creating for others. They deserve a livable wage, and they deserve benefits.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. We're going to move to our next topic. Tina?
And that topic is crime and violence. In June, Congress passed the first bipartisan legislation to combat gun violence in 30 years. According to a Pew Research poll released in July, 78% of Americans think the new gun law will do little or nothing to reduce gun violence. Senator Warnock, I turn to you first. As the number of shootings in Georgia and across the nation continue to rise, what should be done? What should the next step be to solve this issue? You have to answer this question, sir, and I give you 1 minute.
Well, I'm glad that we finally passed the first gun safety law in 30 years. And we did that on a bipartisan basis. I believe that this law will indeed save lives, and I'd like to see us work and see what we can achieve beyond that on a bipartisan basis. My heart goes out when I see the kinds of tragedies that we're witnessing all across our state, all across our country, and it's the reason why I have passed legislation to support law enforcement. I passed the largest investment in the COPS program in a decade. I introduced legislation called Invest to Protect that's endorsed by the sheriffs of Burke County and Scriven County because it supports some of our smaller law enforcement entities. So we got to stand up with law enforcement, but we've also got to create opportunity.
Senator Warnock, thank you. Mr. Walker, we're posing the same question to you, sir. In 1 minute, what should the next step be to solve gun violence?
Well, first of all, any law or bill passed that affect anyone's Second Amendment, I'm not going to stand for and I won't support. But third, to hear Senator Warnock talks about supporting law enforcement is sad because he's called them names. And because of the name calling he's done, the morale is down, recruitment is down.
Morale is down.
Only because of what he's done. He's empowered criminals to think they're better than the police. And because he believes in no cash bail, is releasing prisoners, he don't protect the border. Fentanyl is coming to this country.
Fentanyl
and also into Atlanta.
Are there convoys?
70% of the drugs coming from the border goes to Atlanta, Georgia. And he talks about the police. I have more sheriff that has endorsed me than anyone running in Georgia right now. And I even have some sheriffs here. They've endorsed me because they know I have their back. They're going to have my backs. So to listen to him say that after calling them name, I think is a disgrace.
Mr. Walker, thank you. I have a follow-up now for both of you.
I think I ought to be able to respond to that.
I will give you the opportunity, 15 seconds to respond, Senator Warnock.
We will see time and time again tonight, as we've already seen, that my opponent has a problem with the truth. And just because he said something doesn't mean it's true. I have supported our police officers. I've called them and I've prayed with their families, like those officers lost in Cobb County when they were killed, doing what police officers routinely do.
Jeez.
You can support police officers, as I've done, through the COPS program, through the Invest to Protect program, while at the same time holding police officers, like all professions, accountable. One thing I have not done, I've never pretended to be a police officer, and I've never threatened a shootout with the police.
And now I have to respond to that.
We are moving on,
I have
gentlemen.
to respond to that. And you know what's so funny? I am with many police officers, and at the same time,
Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, excuse me, Mr. Walker, please, out of respect, I need to let you know, Mr. Walker, you are very well aware of the rules tonight.
Yes.
And you have a prop.
Yes.
That is not allowed, sir. Yes. I ask you to put that prop away.
Well, it's not a prop. This is real. And
bro.
He said, I have a prop. I never
it is
worked with
considered
law
a prop, Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You're very well aware of the rules, aren't you?
Well,
aren't you aware of the rules?
Brought up the truth. Let's talk about the truth.
Thank you for putting that prop away. And as a matter of fact, we still have a lot to get to, and we are not going to continue this. We're going to follow up with a question.
Wow,
and this is according to the CDC. Homicide is the leading cause of death for African-American youth. Mr. Walker, in 30 seconds, why do you believe this is happening? And what would you do to stop it?
Well, what I would do is hold people accountable, which is Senator Warnock not doing. Believing in no cash bail, no accountability, that is a problem. People must be accountable for their action. And the truth
pulled out a
lies
fake
with Senator
badge.
Warnock, because he said he was going to Washington to represent Georgia. He went to Washington to represent Joe Biden. That's the reason we're in the mess we're in today, because he represents
And then he followed it up with accountability. I can't even.
Joe Biden and not the truth for Georgia.
Senator Warnock, this follow-up for you. Same question. What do you believe homicides among African-American youth is growing? Why are those homicides growing, sir? And how do we stop it?
Well, it's heartbreaking. And I've seen this up close as a pastor. I've presided over some of these funerals. I've met with young people. And we have to have rules and laws in the society, which I support and I've invested in as a legislator. At the same time, we have to create opportunity. There's no sickness like the loss of hope. When people lose hope, when they doubt that their life can be any longer or that they can dream of something bigger than the street they live on, a lot of things can happen. I grew up in one of those neighborhoods, but I had a nurturing family, and I benefited from good federal public policy, like the Head Start program, like Upward Bound, like Pell Grants and low-interest student loans. And to invest in our children is to invest in our best resource.
Senator Warnock, thank you. We are moving on, gentlemen, to the next question. And this topic is about personal integrity. Buck?
We're going to shift gears a little bit here. Senator Warnock, in 2020, you tweeted this. Unemployment benefits have expired, rent is due, and many Georgia families are at risk of eviction. My opponents are supposed to be serving the people in Washington, but they are clearly concerned with their own interests. Well, recent published reports talk about a property that your church owns, Columbia Towers at MLK Village in Atlanta. It's a home for the disadvantaged. At least a dozen lawsuits have been filed by residents evicted for not being able to pay their rent. Some of the outstanding balances are less than $30. As someone who receives more than $7,000 a month for a housing allowance from Ebenezer Baptist Church, how do you explain this to Georgia voters who are struggling currently to make ends meet?
Good question.
Well, let me say that serving in the United States Senate and continuing to serve my church is the honor of my life. And it gives me a lens through which to do the work that I'm doing. But here's why you know I'm running against a desperate candidate. Anytime a candidate would stoop to the level of trying to sully the name, he and his allies, to sully the name of Martin Luther King Jr.'s church and John Lewis's church, you know that's a desperate candidate. Let me tell you about my church.
Not a good answer.
My church is a Matthew 25 church. We spend every week, every day feeding the hungry and the homeless. They know that those false charges that they've created are not true. We stand up for poor people every single day, and I ran for the Senate to do at a policy level what we do at a local level every single day. I'm not going to be distracted by him and his allies. My people know the truth. They know the work we do every single day, and I couldn't be prouder of them. Proud to represent the Senate and proud to serve Ebenezer Baptist Church.
So just to clarify, your position is that the allegations in these lawsuits are not true?
I am saying that it is very obvious that my opponent and his allies are busy trying to sully Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Wow.
Now you see the problem with the truth.
You're not answering the question, though.
Switching gears a little bit here, sir. Your ex-wife filed a lawsuit asking for increased child support, saying that she had to pay for child care on days that your duties as a senator interfered with your parenting time and citing significant increases in your income. In 30 seconds, what is your response to that lawsuit?
Damn, mods are just going for blood.
I went through a divorce.
He is on the back foot.
And while that was a painful period, what came out of that was two amazing children that I just talked to before I came on this stage. And my children know that I am with them and for them, and that I support them in every single way that a father does.
Nice.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Now to you, Mr. Walker.
Father
Recent
vibes.
ads have highlighted allegations of past domestic violence. They've raised questions about how transparent you've been as far as your resume. In 1 minute, how do you respond to voters who question your integrity, both personally and professionally?
Why did he put on glasses?
First of all, I've been very transparent, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. And I said I had a mental problem, and I'll be a champion.
Bro, you just took out a fake badge and then insisted it was real when told to put it away.
For mental health, because so many people suffer from mental health. But to have people like Senator Warnock that demonize mental health, when I want to tell everyone out there, you can get help. Don't listen to Senator Warnock and his people. You can get help. All you got to do is ask. All you got to do is ask. But the problem with the truth, you just saw it. You just saw it because he won't answer that about evicting the people from the church. And I told him I will pay I'll pay their salary. You're evicting them right now.
We have not evicted We have not evicted those
I
tenants.
didn't write the article.
I
didn't write the article. And most of the people out there steal my time.
I'm okay with the discussion. If we start talking over each other, we have to move forward.
We have not evicted the
then I can
tenants.
speak, Senator.
And he should take that money and pay it back to the veterans that he exploited while
Yeah,
pretending
I like
to run
that too.
a
And
not-for-profit.
see, you can tell that he's not desperate, because if he had read in that thing, he would have saw that I had nothing to do with that. But he is so desperate right now, he really wants that seat. He's now telling you, I didn't evict anyone. It is written in the paper. I didn't do this. Well, Senator, you did. And it's okay to speak the truth. Do not bear false witness, Senator. Do not bear false witness.
You just pulled out a fake badge. Man, American politics is wild. Just the memory of a goldfish, like literally not even 5 minutes ago. Oh my God.
Mr. Walker, to keep this moving, I want to follow up with you. You have been very open on your,
Yes.
Senator Warnock, we need to move forward here. You have been very open about your struggles with mental illness, and you even wrote a book about your diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder. We recently asked if you were still receiving treatment, and this is what you had to say.
No, that's all done, and you don't need to, and that's why I tell people. I think one thing I told people is I've been open about it, and I was open about it, 14 years ago.
Mr. Walker, in 30 seconds, can you clarify this? Are you saying you no longer have dissociative identity disorder, or is this something that you continue to this day to manage?
No, you don't have to have treatment for it. And I encourage people to continue to talk to people. I talk to my pastors. I talk to my pastors, and I continue to get help if I need help. But I don't need any help. I'm doing well. But that's the reason why I tell anyone out there that is suffering from any type of...
I mean, raise your hand if you think you need treatment for dissociative identity disorder. That sounds really serious.
mental illness. You can get help. All you got to do is ask. And I will always be a champion for mental health.
And just to clarify, how can Georgia voters, though, be assured that this will not impact your ability to lead if elected?
Because I'm ready to lead today. I'm ready to vote with the Georgia voters, whereas Senator Warnock has voted with Joe Biden 96% of the time. I'm ready to vote with the Georgia voters today.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to our next topic. Tina?
All right.
And that topic, gentlemen, is health insurance. Georgia is one of 12 states that have not accepted federal funding to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. Mr. Walker, with more than 1.5 million Georgians uninsured, in 1 minute, is it time for the federal government to step in to ensure all Georgians have access to health care?
Well, right now, people have coverage for health care. It's according to what type of coverage do you want. Because if you have an able-bodied job, you're going to have health care. But everyone else have health care is the type of health care you're going to get. And I think that is the problem.
Wow.
And what Senator Warnock wants you to do is depend on the government. What I want you to do is get off the government health care and get on the health care he's got to get you a better health care. So that's what I'm trying to do, to make you independent rather than dependent.
I mean, he's doing well in this debate. I hate to say it.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, you have 1 minute. You've vowed to close the Medicaid gap by expanding access coverage in the Affordable Care Act marketplace. So this comes with a $50 billion price tag, the national debt already at an all-time high. Where is this money coming from? You have 60 seconds, sir.
This is not a theoretical issue for me. When I think about healthcare, I think about Lori Davis, a trauma nurse in Covington, Georgia, who spent her career taking care of people. And then she got sick, and she had to give up that job, and as she got sicker and sicker, she found herself without health care. She was one of the 600,000 Georgians in the Medicaid gap. She died for lack of health care. And so I ran, saying that I would fight to expand Medicaid. Georgia needs to expand Medicaid. It costs us more not to expand. What we're doing right now is we're subsidizing health care in other states. Meanwhile, we've seen 10 hospitals in this state close, 10. And the Atlanta Medical Center, right down the street from my church, where I visit my members, has announced that it's going to close. And so Georgia needs a senator who believes, like I do, that health care is a human right. And I will continue to fight until the working class people, by the way, the folks who don't have health care, they work every single day. The folks who are in the gap,
and I believe in that
the folks,
extension of
let me
healthcare.
finish. The
Your
folks,
time was
the
up,
folks who
Senator.
are in the gap, the folks who are in the gap are the working poor.
We are moving on, Senator
Right now,
Warnock.
health care, but he didn't mention
Listen,
that he
Mr.
got-
Walker, if I can get
Yes.
your attention, please. In just a few weeks, WellStar will close its doors. This is Atlanta Medical Center, which primarily serves patients in lower income and minority communities. Hospitals nationwide are dealing with nursing shortages, doctor shortages in the wake of the pandemic. Mr. Walker, what measures can Congress enact to ensure everyone has access to hospitals and doctors? You have 30 seconds, sir.
Well, first of all, Senator Warnock was correct that he believed in working with people, but he didn't do it because Governor Kemp has a plan that would have been a very good plan. But he stood back while Biden destroyed the plan. And he's talking about he believes in the extension of it. He stood back. Well, what the people can be assured of is I'm willing to meet with hospital administrators, meet with people rather than writing a letter, because Senator Warnock waited till they made a decision and wrote a letter. And I said they don't need a pen payout. They need solutions.
We are moving on now, Senator Warnock. That same question to you, sir. What measures can Congress enact to ensure everyone has access to hospitals and doctors? You have 30 seconds.
Well, clearly he doesn't have a solution.
I said I'll meet with administrators. That's a solution.
He said
you didn't do that.
his solution is to meet. My solution is to pass legislation, which I've done. I got $4 billion in the American Rescue Plan to help the non-expansion states to do what they should have done to expand. They left that money on the table. Georgia left 600,000 Georgians in the Medicaid gap.
Nice.
And so I'm going to keep standing up because people are literally dying.
Healthcare.
The lack of healthcare. Dr. King said that of all the injustices, inequality in healthcare is the most shocking and the most inhumane. I agree with Dr. King.
True.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Buck, now the next topic.
Thank you, Tina. We're going to talk about foreign policy now. Russian President Vladimir Putin has threatened to use nuclear weapons in the conflict with Ukraine, prompting President Biden to claim that we are on the verge of Armageddon. Senator Warnock, if nuclear weapons are used, how should the United States respond? You have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that we are standing up to Putin's aggression.
Hear, hear.
And we have to continue to stand up.
Get him.
Which is why I stood up to the Biden administration when it suggested that we should close the Savannah Combat Readiness Training Center. I told the president that was the exact wrong thing to do at the exact wrong time. And I'm glad that I was able to stand up with Congressman Buddy Carter and others. And we kept that training center open. I've seen up close what those service members do. They are the tip of the spear. And we have to make sure that our service members know that we have their back.
Yo, Democrats love being pro-war. Don't fool yourself.
We have to strengthen our allies and the NATO alliance as we've done. And make
Not
sure
that they're actually wrong in this one case, but generally.
we stand up to Russian aggression. Nothing could be more important.
Mr. Walker, the same question to you. If nuclear weapons are used, how should the U.S. respond? You have 60
Well, first of all, he talked about standing up. You didn't stand up to Chuck Schumer when you could have got a helicopter company here of almost $1 billion. You let it go to New York. You didn't stand up then. You didn't stand up to Biden when he left American people and had 13 military soldiers killed in Afghanistan. You didn't stand up then. So what we can do is Putin is a bully. And the way you beat a bully, you show strength. Well, Senator Warnock said he stood up. He not stood up to Biden. If he was standing up, he wouldn't have voted with him 96% of the time, which gave us an open border, which gave us high inflation, which gave us crime in the street.
That has nothing to
about
do
standing up.
with foreign policy.
He didn't stand up. He have laid down every time it came around. And
what are you
know that,
talking about?
It is evident that he has a point that he tries to make time and time again. I've stood up to the Biden administration so they could keep open this Combat Training Readiness Center, stood with our congressional delegation to do that. I've worked across the aisle time and time to get good things done for the people of Georgia. I worked with a senator from Texas to build out I-14. I worked with a Republican senator from Alabama to help Georgia farmers get their products to market. I will work with anyone and stand up against anybody I need to stand up against to get good things done for Georgia. I work for the people of Georgia.
We need to move forward to our next topic, gentlemen. Our time is running short. Both of you have strong backing from your respective parties. Senator Warnock, a simple yes or no here. You will have a chance to explain, but I'd like a simple yes or no. Would you support President Biden running for a second term in 2024?
Ooh. I've not spent a minute thinking about
yes or
what
no.
politicians should run for what in 2024.
Is that a yes or no?
The answer is I have not, and maybe this is difficult.
Is that a yes or a no?
Maybe this is difficult for people to understand because that's how politicians think. I think that part of the problem with our politics right now is that it's become too much about the politicians. You're asking me who's going to run in 24? The people of Georgia get to decide who's going to be their senator in 3 days, Monday. And I hope they'll show up and vote. And I'd be honored to represent them in the Senate.
That's an
you
answer.
haven't thought about it. If you can think about it now, in 2024, the president will turn 82 years old. Are you concerned about his physical and his mental fitness at that time? You have 30 seconds.
The people of Georgia hired me to represent them regardless of who's in the White House. I'm honored to do that job every single day.
He's really dodging
My dad
this
said
question.
if somebody hires you to do a job, do the job they hired you to do.
Bro,
they didn't hire me to be a pundit.
How many years? What?
And I'm working every single day for hardworking families in Georgia, for our women, for our workers, and for kids like me growing up in places like Caton Homes.
Mr. Walker, former President Trump is also considering a run for the White House in 2024. If you can give me a simple yes or no answer, and we'll give you time to explain as well. Would you support a Trump 2024 run?
Yes, I would. And let me tell you, President Trump is my friend. Has nothing to do with that. He's my friend. I won't leave my allies, which is what Senator Warnock and Joe Biden did in Afghanistan. They left their allies. They
followed through on Trump's terribly concocted exit plan.
Allies, and right now on a foreign stage, a lot of these people don't trust us no more. They don't trust us to be strong anymore. So they're waiting to see who's going to stand up, who's going to trust. They have no one to trust right now because I said President Trump is my friend. And he won't stand up with Biden when yet he's voted with him 96% of the time. Let's be real.
Mr. Walker, are you concerned about the ongoing legal investigations around the country and including here in Georgia? You have 30 seconds.
Well, first of all, I would hope that Senator Warnock, he and myself being people of color, would want the scales of justice to not have a hand on it. We want the Lady Justice to be blind, but in this instance here, Lady Justice is not blind. And I said right now, with everything that is going on, what I like to do is get to what's important. What's important is protecting the border. What's important is protecting people on the street. What's important is getting this inflation down. Coming. Not what's going on there in Washington, talking about whether President Trump is guilty or not guilty. What I wanted to do is see due process, which is what I hope Senator Warnock and myself would love to see.
Changing topics now, we're going to move forward just to give you guys both an update that you may want to know, although the news is not great if you're a Braves fan. Right now, they're in the top of the ninth inning, Game 3, National League Division Series, down 9-1 to the Phillies. Not a great night for the Braves. Just a few weeks ago, the World Series champs, though, they did visit the White House. Their visit sparked a renewed debate about the team's name and their signature tomahawk chop. Mr. Walker, do you believe the Braves should rethink their name, their logo, or their signature cheer? You have 30 seconds.
Not at all. You know, right now, we have too many other things to be concerned about. We have people dying on the streets in Atlanta, around the country. We have people living paycheck to paycheck, can't afford food to put on their table, can't afford gas. We have Putin out there. We have China out there. We can't be concerned about whether the Braves are going to change their name. We need to be concerned about saving this country. We need to be concerned about saving the Georgia people. We need to be concerned about giving people a right to live the liberties and freedom that the Constitution of the United States guarantees them to have.
Senator Warnock, the same question to you in regards to the Braves. Do you think they should rethink their name, their logo, or their signature cheer?
Well, first of all, I'm praying for the Braves right about now. They've got a ways to go here. Listen, the management of the Braves is meeting with our tribes, and they're having a conversation about this. And I know the folks over at the Braves organization, and I trust that they and the tribes that they're talking to will come to a place that makes sense for all involved.
Senator Warnock, we're going to go ahead and continue. We want to get a few more questions in tonight. Senator Warnock, some of your Senate colleagues have called for expanding the number of seats on the Supreme Court. In 15 seconds, quickly, sir, would you support this?
What I support.
Expanding
listen,
the seats on the Supreme Court.
I think that my job as a senator is to protect the rights of ordinary citizens. And for the first time, perhaps in my lifetime, we've seen those rights contract rather than expand, whether we're talking about the reproductive rights of women or voting rights. And I'm going to do everything I can to protect the rights of the citizens of Georgia.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Mr. Walker, would you support expanding the number of seats on the Supreme Court? In 15 seconds, sir.
Yes, when you get in Washington, you have to become a leader. Being a leader, you have to make tough decisions. And you see on that answer there, he really didn't give you an answer. So my answer is no. I wouldn't know.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now we have reached the point for final moments of this debate, a chance for your closing remarks. You have 60 seconds.
Each have 60 seconds to answer, and Senator Warnock, you have the floor first.
Well, thank you so very much, Georgia. It's wonderful to be here. Listen, in this state, we have nearly 11 million people, and only 2 people get to represent us in the United States Senate, just 2. And when I think about that, it is an awesome responsibility, one that humbles me and inspires me to work as hard as I can for hardworking families every single day. And I've worked with Democrats and Republicans in order to do that work. These are difficult times. These are dark times.
True.
But the scripture says that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness overcometh it not. I'm honored to represent you in the Senate. I hope that you'll show up to vote early, beginning Monday. I'd be honored to have your vote. God bless you. Keep the faith.
Mr. Walker, your turn for closing statements, and you have 60 seconds as well.
For those of you who are concerned about voting for me, a non-politician, I want you to think about the damage politicians like Joe Biden and Raphael Warnock have done to this country. I want you to think about Raphael Warnock, what he said today. And I said he was going to try to give you some smooth talk.
All right. So that's the debate. That was it. It was okay. I think the spicy bit was definitely him pulling out the patch. That was good stuff. Bit of a shorter stream today. I hope you had fun. I'm going to go enjoy the sun and do some reading and maybe a bit of sleeping and maybe a bit of gaming, maybe a bit of cooking. I don't know. You have a lovely day. I'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Au revoir.